Okay. I didn't know it was on already. Okay. Good morning, guys. Welcome back. Today's episode on our podcast is going to be what's real estate wholesaling. I'm here with Wani and our newest guest, Eli. So yeah, let's get to this. We're also gonna have a fourth guest coming in. He's coming shortly, and he will be also giving us details on what's real estate wholesaling. So what can you tell us?
Yeah. So let's not forget about our agents.
Oh yes, our agents.
They're not visible.
They're not visible, but they're here. They're going to be asking questions.
Yes. I hope they're ask questions because I'll have questions for them. They better have answers, right?
So make sure you guys take notes.
Right. So we're gonna talk about wholesaling in real estate. Do you guys know what wholesaling is to begin with? What's wholesaling? Wholesale real estate. What is that? Have you heard of that term?
I have.
Yeah? What is it?
It's when a property is being or it's trying to get listed or being sold to someone else, but you're selling it without making any fixes in the house. You don't have the budget, I guess, kind of a thing.
Right. Wholesaling is more like selling the contract to purchase a property. So rather than you buy it yourself and then fix it and sell it, then it requires your down payment and holding costs and everything. But instead of doing that, you acquire purchase contract and you sell it to another investor, and that investor will put in the money, and that's wholesaling. Okay, so wholesaling is generally used to get into the fix and flip game because it doesn't require much asset of yours to start with. You just need to hustle because you just need to know the people. You just need to understand beat up properties, what your investors are looking for. You just need to find those and submit offers and get it accepted. Once you do that, then you can turn around and sell it to your investor. So that's wholesaling. So it's like you're becoming a guard dog. No, watchdog. Is that what it is? Like I think go out and fetch.
Yes.
What your master wants.
Now, do you have to have a license to do wholesaling?
No, not for you to do wholesale. You don't need a real estate license. You don't need experience, but you just need to have an eye to look for good properties and what your investors are looking for.
Okay. So once you find the property, how do you go to an investor? How do you know that's a good investment for that?
In the beginning, you wouldn't know because you wouldn't know what's good compared to what's bad and how long it will take, what the investor's looking for, what kind of asset you will need to purchase the property and hold it. It's just too many questions, and it just has to come with the experience. You wouldn't be able to tell this is a better property than the other one. But if you can locate a similar property that your investor bought at a similar price and similarly situated, location and size and everything, then more than likely that investor will buy that property too.
Got it.
So that's where you can go about. Like instead of, let's say someone just bought a property in Koreatown, you don't go off and go, hey, introduce a Riverside property to him and say, hey, what do you think about this? It might work, but might not work either. But then if you're to introduce another property nearby that property that he purchased recently, then there's a higher chance that he will purchase that. So it's important to understand your investors' purchase criteria.
Right.
So that you don't have to go after wild goose chase.
Yeah, makes sense.
So, well, a lot of questions I get is how do you find the deals?
How do you find the deals?
Yeah. You're supposed to ask that question.
How do you find the deals?
How do you find deals? Well, there's a lot of wholesalers in LA and Orange County area. So you could build a network with them. Two, you could go after probates. Like, you know what probates are? No? Do you know what
No.
probates are?
No, or I think you broke it down before as people that either was widowed or
You know what a probate is?
What is it?
Come up here then. Speak into the mic. Tell me what your definition of probate is.
My on the screen.
Yeah.
What's up, everybody? So a probate is when somebody passes away and they don't have like a will or a trust to pass on their house. So I believe it's when like it has to do with the government, right? Like they kind of own like the deceased person's house and they're trying to figure out where it goes to and how to separate the assets.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you've been through a probate?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah?
So that's the only reason why.
Yeah, that's why I was figuring, because you know the details of probate. So I was like, okay, I was surprised. All right. Probate is a way of asset being divided into the heirs. So let's say you pass away and your spouse passed away, and then there's a property that needs to be divided into let's say however many children you have. Let's say you have 3 children, then you're gonna have to give it to them. But how do you divide it? Like who's gonna divide it, and who's gonna be in charge of talking to the lawyers and the court? So that needs to be determined by probate court, and the probate court will decide who's gonna be administrator or executor depending on the authority level. That person will decide to sell the property to whoever the buyer there is. It could be a buyer, it could be a realtor. A realtor can come in and help them out, and a lot of times the heirs don't really want to deal with a lot of paperwork, because let's say you're dividing the asset into 3. Do you really want to spend your time like into it? Because like you all gonna share the same amount, you're just putting in a lot more time into it,
Right.
so you probably don't want to, right? And then let's say a house is lived in by your parents for, let's say, 30 years and then never remodeled, and they passed away. The house is gonna be in a beat up
Deteriorated
shape.
kind of a thing.
It's deteriorated. So can you get the full value from the property? Most likely not.
No.
But then if let's say you're the 3 heirs and I passed away, I give it to all 3, and then I give you the authority to sell the property, but let's say the house is beat up. Are you all 3 gonna fix the property up and sell for the maximum amount?
No.
No?
No.
Why?
too much work.
Too much work
Way too much work.
for all 3 of you to share it.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? You're gonna have to put in like 200,000, like let's say 50,000, 50,000, 50,000, and then fix it up and put it on the market. And you're gonna collect what, $100,000, $150,000 each. And I'm like, why do that? Just get rid of it and just take $50,000 each. You know?
Yeah.
So that's what usually happens. But if you're the only one who's benefiting from the sale, it might be different. Right?
Yeah.
Right. So that's why. So a lot of times probate sales are really a good leads to go after to purchase the properties less than what the market value is. So I strongly recommend going after probates because they need to sell. A lot of times they don't want to sell. Well, I'll say probably 30% of the time the heirs don't want to sell. You know why?
Why?
Guess why?
Sentimental value.
Yeah, to cherish the house.
Sentimental value, yes, I've heard of that. But sentimental values, you just have to keep bugging them. Like every 2 weeks or a month, you keep calling them, hey, did you change your mind?
Did you buy the house?
Yeah, because I mean, sentimental value is good, but then once they have to start paying the mortgage and taxes and insurance and upkeep it and stop it from homeless to coming in and all that, it becomes a work. So a lot of times
The sentimental value.
Sentimental value goes out of the window and reality starts hitting. So, okay. And I've seen one of the heirs living inside the property, and they were taking care of the parents, and the parents passed away, and the heir stays in it. And there are two other heirs who are out of states. Now what? The heir who was taking care of the parents don't want to leave.
Yeah.
They don't want to sell it
Yeah.
because while other two heirs are not getting their shares, this guy is living there for free. So he doesn't want to sell it.
It's a tough situation.
Yeah. So you're gonna end up kicking him out,
Yeah.
evict him. So other heirs have to get together and sell
Agree.
it, and then get this guy out, and that could take years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it could get hairy, but a lot of times you'll be able to get a pretty decent deal out of it. But you have to get your hands on it before they list it with the realtor.
An actual realtor.
Yeah, do you know why? Once it goes to a realtor's hand, they're gonna list it on the market, and it's gonna be up for sale, and it's just a lot of work for the sellers and a lot of work for the realtors, and of course they're gonna put it in escrow. But the problem is, regular buyers can't actually complete the transactions. If someone lived in it for 30 years without fixing the property is in shambles. And once the regular buyer comes in and say, hey, this is $100,000 cheaper than the neighbor's house, so I want to buy this, they go into escrow and they realize they have to spend, let's say, $100,000 in rehab. He doesn't have enough money,
So it's not going to sell.
so they will back out. So after 2 months into escrow, they're gonna have to do it all over again.
Okay.
So a lot of times it's much better for an investors to pick it up, and they'll fix it up at a less than of course the current value, and then make money off of it and sell it. So this is a very good way of wholesalers to find properties, probates,
Yeah.
probate sales. And I love probate because they have motivation to sell.
To sell a property.
They have motivation to sell it.
Are they hard to find?
People die
Every day.
every day. Yeah,
That's sad.
they die. Whether we're going through a recession
Yeah.
or not, people still have to die, and they have to leave the property behind.
Yeah.
Then there's a person who has to sell it. So the probate is a recession-proof business.
Unfortunately.
Good.
Yeah.
It's cold.
Yeah,
That's my time.
yeah, that's a fact.
Wow. That's crazy.
So what's my agents gonna do from now on? Huh? My agents, what are you gonna start doing now?
Start with probates.
Yeah, so with probates. Yeah.
Look
start-
for probates.
So you're gonna have to door knock. You're gonna have to call them, cold call, send postcards, and you have to go after probate attorneys too. Probate attorneys, they are really sourceful because that's what they do, probates.
Yeah.
So go talk to them, and they'll be able to get you, leads, right? They're not supposed to hand it over to you, but they can help you get more listings.
Yeah.
I see.
Because they're the ones who are, taking care of the paperwork firsthand. So I would strongly recommend buying a dozen of donuts and going to, the lawyer's office and start getting to know them.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
one.
how usually, get them to know you and familiar with you and stuff.
Yeah.
That's good.
So question.
Yeah.
So probate with the courts.
Come this way. Come back. Yeah.
So I noticed that I'm Downey. I'm a realtor here at the King Real Estate. Noticed that there's a probate with the court
Confirmation.
approval and there was some without. Can you tell us a little bit more
So some do needs to go back to a court. Some don't. Okay, it's depending on the authority level of the heir. So let's say you're the only son, and the court is like 90% sure you're the only one, and the court is like, okay, you could sell it for whatever you want, and keep the profit. We don't care.
That's with the approval?
That's without the approval.
Without approval.
Without
You
the
still
court
need to
approval.
go to court.
Well, you still need to go to court because the title shows that your parents are the ones who own the property. So the probate court has to grant you the right to sell. So you still have to go to court and call it probate, and then you're gonna have to file it, and then everybody's gonna know that you're the heir and you're trying to sell it. It stays on the court record, and that's where you get the information. Like,
And how long does it usually take for that whole process to be done?
ooh, it could take somewhere between 4 months to 8 months.
Without the approval?
From no, without the approval. So let's say as soon as you
Sell the contract. I guess.
I'm in the file for probate, it takes about 2 to 3 months for it to actually go to court. And then once you go to court, then they'll tell you, hey, okay, you can sell it without the court approval, then just sell it.
Oh, okay, so at least 2-3 months.
Yeah. So court approval, sometimes, and that's when you don't need a court approval. But let's say there's multiple heirs, and then there's multiple wills. So let's say I'm gonna give it to you, and then a month later,
I'll give it
someone
to
comes
you.
in with the paper saying, yeah, I'm supposed to get half of it and all that. Then now they have to figure out how they're gonna split that profit
the property.
or share. So that's when you need
More time.
court approval.
And that takes much longer, for sure.
It could take up to a year, but I've seen 2 years.
And this court fee charges a fee?
Yes, the court charges a certain percentage of the proceeds, and the probate attorney as well. So probate is very expensive to go through
You mean
For the
seller
heirs.
side,
for the heirs.
for the heirs.
Yeah, so it's important that you okay, leaving a will doesn't do anything. It's useless.
Yeah.
Wills are useless. You need to have a living trust to avoid probate. But I'm not supposed to give out this information because I want them to go through a probate, right?
Yes, you're right.
All right. But
Okay.
yeah, in order to avoid probate, you need to go through a living trust and then set it up correctly, and then own the property under the living trust, so that you don't have to go through a probate. Because once you go through a probate, everybody in the world is gonna know your name, your phone number, your email address, and who your lawyer is, and they're gonna start spamming you. They're gonna text you, call you, come to your doors and knock on
Knock
the
on the door.
door, and
Just like what we're doing in the
yeah,
company.
like we're doing it to them, right? But yeah, it says on the court record, so that's where you get the information, and you become vulture. But
I mean, as an agent, I usually just skip listing that says probate sale.
oh no, don't be afraid of a probate.
It's not afraid, like I just don't want an extra step for the buyers to go through.
Yes,
That's-
the
yeah.
buyer needs to wait
Right,
a
exactly.
little
So
longer, and
usually, unless the property is really worth it, I just skip the listing. But
plus there is a little hurdle for regular buyers because they have to put in
certain amount.
EMD deposit. Deposit amount is usually 2 to 3%
Same
in
as
residential,
standard,
right?
yeah.
But probates require 10%.
Oh wow.
So let's say if you're buying $1 million house, you're gonna have to put in $100,000 in, wait, and usually they don't give you contingencies either. So it's tough
does it
for
go
a
through
first time
escrow?
buyer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes through escrow,
Goes through
title,
escrow.
everything's the same. But the problem is 10% down, you're gonna have to wait a few months. And then let's say if there's a court approval needed, what happens is, let's say a realtor lists it and you submit an offer, you get accepted, and you open escrow, you put 10% down, a 10% deposit, you wait for the court approval. On the date of court approval, someone can actually show up to the court and say, I want a bit higher amount.
See?
They
Sounds like
they
very-
can do that.
Yeah,
Like
it's an
like
auction.
a live auction.
Yeah, it's a live auction. So I've seen a probate. I've been to a probate court, and there was I think it had some other miscellaneous lawsuits, and then there were like probably 20 cases, right? And one of them was a probate. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna bid on that and try to see, because the accepted amount was really low compared to the resale price. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna buy that. So I showed up to a probate court, and I had my check and everything. And then there were a bunch of people, and then everybody was sitting still, and then so they had an eviction case and some other cases, and they were arguing, and then blah blah blah, and then all of a sudden the probate case was called up. So if you want to overbid for this probate case, I need you to come up and show your proof. Everybody got up. Everybody in the courtroom got up and went up, and they start bidding. And this couple didn't even know how much it was. They were just kept bidding me. I was like, what the heck?
You don't even know the price.
And within 3 seconds, it was over my budget.
So you give up.
I mean, I wanted to see how far it goes up, right? So I was sitting there and looking at idiots who are trying to buy the properties, and like the price was going up so high. I was like, why don't you just buy a neighbor's house? It's all fixed up at the better price. It came to that point.
Wow.
I'm like, what? It did not make sense at all. It was just cheaper to buy anything on MLS. Just buy off of Redfin, whatever.
I think that happens at the auction often.
Yeah, they get emotional.
Yeah, they get like, I want to win this thing.
Yeah.
It's just so high.
Too competitive.
Right.
Yeah, and I had, resale price. Like once I spend like, let's say $50,000 on this, and the property is gonna be worth this much. And then so I was like, okay, then I'm gonna buy it at this price to make some margin and make some profit and all that. So I had all that number figured out before I go to the court.
That went out the window.
Like, within 3 seconds, the number just went up, and I kept watching it. Went on for like 2 to 3 minutes, and then the price was at the price where I was thinking,
You wanted to sell.
yeah, I wanted to sell at that price, and the purchase price was already getting close to that. I'm like, doesn't make sense at all.
Maybe that's the end user.
End user, yes,
Yeah,
it was
it has
definitely
to
end
be the
user,
end user,
and he didn't even know how much he was bidding, like because he was kept on going. So how much are you? I don't know, but it's me.
I want it.
I want it. So I was like, okay, no, never mind. So
That's
that's
one of the reason I don't like to go through the probate listing for my buyers, because of those,
right.
complex
So
reasons.
if it needs a court confirmation, it could get overbid, and if it does, then your buyer waited for
For
2
nothing.
months with the 10% down into escrow, and then they
That's
lose the
sad.
property. And now they have to look for it.
No,
Okay.
do they get the 100, whatever they put down? Do they get it back?
Yeah,
The EMD.
yeah. The
They always
deposit
get
they'll get it back. The problem is, you wasted 2 months of
2 months of something, right?
and then not getting it. Now you have to look at it again. So if it was your regular buyer, the regular buyer is upset at you and the court and real estate, and they'll be like,
I
So-
want another agent.
yeah, I want another agent, and you lose your client.
Yeah.
So,
Seems like why should void,
Yeah.
unless
But
there's
I
a
mean-
really good reason.
but I mean, it's a probate without court confirmation. It's just a regular sale.
They could still come and beat.
No,
Oh, that's done.
if there is no court confirmation,
That's
there's no
just done.
property.
Okay. Final.
Once it gets accepted, that's it.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's how probate goes, and you should definitely look for probate deals, because it's a moneymaker. Because, I mean, I've
Other
seen a
than
case.
probate, what is another money?
Oh, there's a whole bunch. Do you want me to list
Yeah.
all that? Oh, you're not gonna be able
Your
to go home
top 3, I
today.
guess.
No, top 3 probates, and what is it? MLS is also a good source. You would think, I see that on MLS, why do I have to buy from you? But see, the difference is finding out those properties and then negotiating the price down to where you want it is also another key. So MLS is also a good way of finding it. And the third one is drive-by. So let's say you're driving by the neighborhood and you see a vacant home, or like this is an indication, like this is an indicator, key indicator, the grass. people treat their grass front lawn as if they were treating their carpet inside the house. Do you know that?
I did not know that.
You don't know that?
No.
They do. So if their grass is brown and all
Dirt.
dirty and it's nothing but dirt, it means it's not taken care of.
Right.
So the inside will be more likely the same way as the grass in the front yard. Yes.
That's a good,
Yeah. So if you
good
see
strategy, right? Like
good
to
shit.
know.
yeah, so if you see front line not taken care of, then you could go knock on the door. And usually the house reflects that. The house condition usually reflects the front line condition. So go knock on the door and see if they want to sell it, because they're usually in financial distress.
Yeah.
Yeah, I often drive by and tell my clients that, you know, the exterior condition is interior condition. You know, sometimes like the paint, and you can tell us a lot more about the inside.
Yeah. I didn't know that. That's good to know.
All right, so that's wholesaling. There's a lot more tips on how to find wholesale deals.
So
Questions?
yeah, basically what I'm thinking, you're like the middleman, right? And you present it to your investors, right? So how do you go on finding your investors then?
Well, that's another topic,
Mhm.
right? How do you find your investors? How do you think you will find your investors?
I mean,
Say networking.
I don't know.
Look up the titles. Like, let's say when you go through a Redfin or Zillow, you'll see properties that's a flip. You could tell it's a flip because no one lives in it. It's brand new, remodeled.
Just
Who's the owner?
listed.
Is there an investor? More than likely. Then look up the previous listing of that. Then you'll see a beat up house purchased, significantly less than what the market value is. So obviously that tells you that person, whoever flipped the house, is a flipper investor. So you go talk to them. Yeah,
That's good to know.
Yeah.
right?
I would have said like networking. Go to your events or something. Like investing events kind of a thing.
Yeah, you could, but let's say I'm an investor, but if you were to come up to me and I usually don't like to go to any those events anyways, but if I were to go and you were to come up to me and say, hey, I'm a wholesaler, would you want to buy properties? And I'll be like, okay, if you have a deal, send it to me, otherwise don't call me.
Right.
Right.
But then, you're gonna have to ask, hey, what's your criteria on purchasing so I can concentrate on that. So you're gonna have to know how what's his sweet spot is, and then you go after that. And you're gonna have to see, you're gonna have to really get to know that investor well, for you to find good properties for him,
Right.
right? It's just that everybody's different. Someone likes to purchase 2 units. Someone likes to purchase things under $1 million. Someone likes to purchase properties in metro cities only. And, someone likes to buy condos. So everybody's different.
Yeah. Makes a
So
lot of sense.
yeah, you need to understand what your investor's sweet spot is,
Likes and dislikes.
right? So you can go after those.
I see.
Okay. Any questions?
Questions? No? All right. Then I guess, just wholesaling is an art. And we have to probably spend 4 weeks on wholesaling and dissect it into what wholesaling is. So probably next week.
Yeah.
We'll talk about wholesaling again.
Okay.
Cool.
The steps of wholesaling.
If you guys have any
Once you find the property, what are the steps to it? Like, I know you take it to the investor, then what? Then what happens? So maybe we can go over that topic.
Gianna, have any questions? No? Colin? No? Okay. All right then. We'll talk about wholesaling and
On
real
our
estate next week again.
Yes.
But bring some questions with you.
Yep.
Yeah?
Yes.
All right then. I'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.